All right, and I want to jump in here one more time. I want to, Sabrina Lamar has joined the meeting. That she is the, as many of you know, the president of the Monroe County Legislature. Now, Sabrina, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Shanique. I appreciate the invite. Sorry I got on late. I didn't know about it, so I haven't been privy to the beginning of this conversation. But I, just based on what I've heard so far, I do agree that we should be. I do agree with what Anthony said and with what Mr. Eagle said as it pertains to marching is not enough and protesting is not enough. And we need to be working collaboratively, especially with our elected officials or people who, with our elected officials, to create more policies that intentionally marginalize a certain population. I don't think that we have gotten far, especially in this county. We are still in a spot where we're still having the first Black person to do this or the first Black person to do that. And it's not happening like that in a lot of other urban cities. And I think that we can do a better job at sort of bridging that gap.
Absolutely. Are you discussing any? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want any questions for Sabrina Lamar.
And just I'm trying to sign in from my computer. So if you could just bear with me 1 second.
Absolutely. No problems. If you guys have any questions, because this is historic. The Monroe County Legislature started off as the Board of Supervisors in 1820, right? So we're talking about systems that are rooted in a history of spaces where we've been excluded. Now we're included in those spaces, as Sabrina Lamar was saying. We actually did want to, I was going to hold off questions about this, but what do you think your appointment means for the average constituent? And what is the significance of your collaboration with the GO? At least not, if not a collaboration, at least a willingness to not to partake in partisan politics.
And you know what? Can you hear me? I'm really glad to that you asked that question, because it's very important to me to be able to tell the side of the story that everybody cannot see. And without getting into all of the details that led up to this, me and 4 other Black legislators, Black and Asian legislators, had already broken away from the traditional caucus because our voices were being silenced. Anytime that we made a move to try to do something that we felt was righteous for our community, we got shut down. We weren't able to do absolutely nothing. And so this relationship with the GOP started way before I became the president. As a matter of fact, I wish I could tell you, we don't even have enough time for me to tell you everything that's happened to me personally as a legislator, as the only Black female legislator in the Democratic caucus. But it was made very clear to me prior to this decision that I wasn't going to have a voice at all. I was probably going to get a seat in the back and just be there for my 2 years. I wasn't going to be able to get any legislation through. There are some things going on that I'm going to start bringing to the light that I'm seeing because I am the president. And this was necessary. Also, don't get it twisted. I want you to know that the Democrats had this same plan in mind. However, I just got the support before they did. So they'll make it seem like this is me. I'm a Republican now. And honestly, and I'm sure a few of you can attest to this, no matter who is in the majority, whether it's Democrat or Republican, doesn't much change for Black folks.
That's right.
So let me just say that.
Yes, ma'am.
But when we have an opportunity to elevate one of our own, at least to have a platform, so I can bring y'all voices to the legislature. That's big. That's monumental right there.
Absolutely.
And it's never been done in the county before.
Absolutely. I want to touch on two things. And if anyone has any questions for Sabrina Lamar, please raise your hand on any of the issues that we discussed, actually. Please raise your hand and we'll get you in the queue. I just wanted to ask you, you mentioned you and a few other people getting together, when you couldn't really get things done. What is the future of the Black and Asian Democratic Caucus? Can you weigh in on that? And also my other question was, you went through some challenging times with Joe Morelli. Do you think that has anything to do, his call to his people, the good old boys at the institution, the college? Do you think that has anything to do with the recent murmurs about your appointment?
So I'll answer your last question first. One thing that I've noticed, or that I know, is that you do not get ahead by slandering other people. They've been doing that to me, and I'd rather just keep pushing forward and talking about the good. Joe Morelli and whomever will have to answer to this community, and that's my answer to that. By me taking that approach, I've been able to move. When they zig, I've been able to zag. You focus on one thing, you can't get anything done, and that's their strategy. And I'm sorry, repeat what your first question was.
The future of the Black and Asian Democratic Caucus.
Oh, so if some other Black folks will join, we only have 2 other Black legislators in the legislature. If they decide to join, then I guess that would be a future. Right now, I am the Black and Asian Caucus single-handedly, and my vote matters. My voice matters. I'm the super majority by myself. And so I don't know how long this is going to last. This is a pivotal time. So if there's things that we can get done, we got to work together to get them done now.
Amen. Marcus, did you have a question or comment on some of the things that we've been discussing so far? Marcus, you got to unmute yourself, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I think that it's always good to be able to work across the aisle. That's what we're supposed to be able to do as American citizens. We're supposed to be the United States of America. We're supposed to come together on the things that we can. But unfortunately, there's been this big guffaw that because if you're Black, you have to be a Democrat. I'm Black and I'm Republican. Why? Because I was raised in a church. I have more traditional values. Okay. Black people in the city of Rochester specifically have been voting for 50 years for the Democrats. And then we wonder why nothing has gotten done. Because we're voting for the same people. It's the same party. It's just different figureheads that are being pushed and maneuvered around. And my concern is that more of our people need to focus in on what the candidates are saying that they're going to do, checking and seeing if it's realistic for them to be able to actually implement, or if it's even on their job that they can actually get it done. Because a lot of people don't know what a city council person does, or a lot of people don't know what a county legislature does. It's a very stark difference in education. We don't have civics in school anymore. We mostly don't have participation in government in schools anymore. So our people are at a severe disadvantage because we don't know how the system itself operates. And we see one party is supposed to be what we're supposed to do, but we're supposed to vote with our values. Who is going to represent our values? And I really appreciate Sabrina for being a stalwart champion of actual values, which seem to be going awry all across the political spectrum right now. Thank you so much, Sabrina, for everything you do. And it goes back to Martin Luther King. Back then, they were more cognitive. They were more active in politics. They knew more about who was representing values and stuff like that. And we need to get back to that.
Let's Be Lead Safe with May Development is a certified firm dedicated to reviewing lead hazards in your home to avoid the health risks associated with lead poisoning. To ensure you have a safe environment for you and your children, Have your home tested by a licensed and professional lead testing company to determine if you have any hazards. Contact us today at 585-503-3559 or visit us at letsbeleadsafe.net.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you.
Okay, I see a few hands. I want to get, so the order we'll go in is Jamila, Rich, and Moses. If that's okay, please make it brief, guys, because we want to start wrapping it up here in a few. So please make your comments brief. Address any of the topics that we've have so far. I know we do have one more item, but feel free. I think this should be organic, and I love the way this conversation is heading. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for having me. Sabrina, first of all, girlfriend, I want to say thank you and congratulations on stepping on next. That's definitely what we need to do as a people, and I'm proud of you for pushing through because some people would have folded. So I want to tell you thank you for that. And then in rebuttal, I just want to ask you, when you say we need to get it together as people who out here with organizations, people who are willing to help, how can we assist you? Because we say it, but doing it is something different. So just some of the things that we can do as citizens to aid in this process and how we can be of service.
Come to the county ledge meetings. Come to the county ledge meetings. Send those letters in. Send those letters in. Make sure you're paying attention to what's going on. I can honestly say I don't see a lot of us at the meetings when it comes time to influence legislation. When it comes time to even talk about what our community needs, I don't see anybody who looks like me in the room. And I know that that is the avenue on getting things done because I've seen it. That this climate action committee that they put together came from people out in the suburbs who every month came to every meeting saying the exact same thing, reading off the same exact script, saying that we need to do something about climate control. And after 18 months, it probably was going on even before I got there. The county legislature put together an actual committee to look at and to do research and to influence policy as it pertains to climate control. That is the way to do it. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So when you say county legislature meetings, how do common people who may not know that there's a meeting happening, how do they go about finding this information?
So I'll tell you, they're every month, second Tuesday of the month at 6:00. But whoever, if you miss this message or if you forget, it's on the county website. If you go to the county's website, type in the search engine, type in county legislature, and it'll bring up the meeting times and even our committee meetings.
I love this. That was a very important educational piece. And again, because a lot of us, just saying, when is it? And we don't, do the resource, but it's nice to know that those resources, the reference for those meetings are out there. And now we know second Tuesday, every month, 6 p.m. Thank you for that. We're going to go to Richard C. Johnson, and then Moses, and then Dr. John Sharp, and then Peaceful Warriors.
Yes, and can we keep the comments? I know that everyone wants to speak. Can we kind of keep the comments to about a minute or so, maybe two, but we have to really kind of be careful about how long we take.
Sure.
I just want to apologize. First, saying congratulations to Ms. Lamar for appointment. But my question was kind of coincides with Ms. Edwards' question of the action moving forward to collaborate with you organizations, I think, that are on this call, and if we could express it to other organizations that we're in contact with, everybody on this Zoom, I think it's a great opportunity to answer her call to act and collaborate with her. So I just my question was basically the same thing on how can that happen.
I love it. I love the spirit of community. I think that everybody is behind you. Sabrina, What's your official title? Because we call you President Lamar, County Legislator President Lamar. How does that? What's your official title so I can be respectful?
Madam President. However, I like Sabrina.
Okay,
I like Sabrina.
I'll put them both together.
I tried to get my mother to call me Madam President, and
that's funny.
It's amazing. I'm still here.
Moses. Did you want to respond?
I just wanted to quickly say to Rich, first of all, hi. Tell Sharita I said hi. There is an important issue that we can all get around, and it's very necessary. The Public Defender's Office has made some changes that's only going to affect city folks. They will no longer be representing people from the city in misdemeanor and violation cases, which is the majority of the cases that come through the court. And nobody's talking about it. They didn't consult the community about it. And that's something that we have to get in front of like now in order to stop that, because that's really going to hurt our community. I'm planning this week to put a press release together about this and put together a hearing so we can get some recommendations and get basically to have that stop, because it's going to hurt our community. So that's an issue that we can get behind together, and that could be how we start this relationship.
Love it.
I love it.
So Moses, you were next.
Yes. One of the things I wanted to say is exactly what Queen Lamar had just said in terms of us working together. You heard Howard say it. You heard Anthony Hall say it. And one of the things in terms of my response today about the comment in terms of my removal from the community liaison for the Rochester Police Department. And Mikey, you know this. I pulled back because I wanted to see how God was going to work. And he worked. So there was no need for me to go any further with it. Queen Bird, I do appreciate you reaching out to me. And I just want to say that we have to continue to do what Howard and Anthony and Queen Lamar and all these organizations we're talking about, is that we have to move strategically. And so I'd like to learn more information about the public offenders changes. And so I want to support you as much as I possibly can. God bless you all.
Yeah, if that went over anybody's heads, and thank you for reiterating that, Moses. So, Sabrina, Madam President Lamar has told us that the Public Defender's Office will not be representing people for misdemeanors and violations. Now,
city
Sabrina,
folks. Not representing city folks only.
In the city of Rochester. That's huge. So we all need to get behind that. Expect some correspondence from our organization on that piece. We have to be careful because we are a nonprofit. So we have to be careful as far as legislation is concerned. But I think that this is, the Public Defender's Office is definitely within our scope of advocacy, and we want to support you however we can. Dr. John Sharp.
Wow. So I just wanted to first of all just say thank you guys for putting this together. Tocsin Magazine, Ms. Bird, and to you, nephew. I don't always get a chance to tell you that you're always on the right side of things. The work you're doing will form legs and stand in history one day. And I just want to thank you personally. Thank you for doing the work you do. While I appreciate this opportunity and a lot of the nice conversations, I personally, just listening to everyone, I don't know if we are ready to stand on an island and go against those who go against us and our community. If more of us was truly in love with justice, maybe, just maybe, we wouldn't have to talk about Bell or have the difficult conversations on political leaders, community leaders, police, judges. Personally, I just don't feel that there's enough of us that are in love with justice. The behind the door conversations wouldn't stay behind the door. Racist police, corrupt officials wouldn't remain in place. So I want to ask those of us who are in the know, who are in the midst of some of these questionable actions, to ask yourself if you're in love with justice, or do you find yourself a little bit more in love with opportunities, careers, dollars? Then lastly, I'd like to say that we have to come together as a people with allies and stand every day, all day against some of these problems. My pops would always say that every time we allow one thing to slip through the crack, more and more over time, the crack becomes a huge opening. And all the systematic, racist, corrupt things now have a place to live. And so I just wanted to leave that as something to think about. That's something I'm thinking on. And again, I just want to thank you all for this opportunity and putting this together.
That was extremely powerful. Just talking about being in love with justice. It really is about that and not the opportunities and the egoisms. And I know we're being very frank and candid, like you said, but there's some nasty problems, right, that play our community. And Anthony Hall just touched on that. But it was nice to have Sabrina kind of, come in after that before we went down that rabbit hole and say, there is possibility for us to progress and we're come together on real issues. And I think that if we concentrate on the real issues, that we can support each other on being in love with justice. But anyway, not to talk too much, I can talk to you. We talk for hours on that. So we're going to go to Peaceful Warriors, then Jamila. And then I think we should be going to our last topic, which is community violence. And then we are going to call it a meeting by 2:30. It was only supposed to be an hour long program. So and then anybody else who has any questions for anybody on the panel or wants to say anything is totally open. But I just want to give everybody an opportunity to speak. So Peaceful Warriors and then Jamila.
Hi, Mikey. How are you? Good to see you all. Thank you for having me. I just want to go back to a couple of notes. I was listening to what you were all saying. Going back to Jason Walker, what's it matter if he was walking in traffic? Like, at what point? Sorry, I think I cut out. Who cares if he's walking in traffic? I mean, at what point? It's got to the sense of security it's got to increase a lot before somebody has the right to go and shoot somebody. So I just don't really understand what the defense is in response to if there's just no reason. It's just like, why would anybody be shot over walking in the road? So immediately it's like something is obviously wrong there. So I support probably 95% of all, everything that you're talking about. I support all of that. I may not understand it all, but I support all of that. In response to Sabrina Lamar, I think you said that there's going to be misdemeanors that are not going to be represented by the public defender. So I wonder if there's any misdemeanors in particular that, if not represented, may pose a significant or increased risk to public safety. Maybe there's a few that can immediately just kind of say that needs to be represented by somebody. So those are and I agree with the doctor that small injustices magnify over time.
I can just respond really quick. Thank you. Thank you for that question. So I left off the other half of what's going on in the public defender's office. So they're not going to be representing city folks only on misdemeanor and violations. However, they're going to move those cases over to the conflict defender's office. And the problem with the conflict defender's office is there's no diversity over there, and they have way less attorneys than the public defender's office does. So not only is this can affect the actual community, it also affects the young attorneys who are coming in to the public defender's office to learn, to develop their craft, to make a livable wage. It affects everything.
It affects everything. I hear what you're saying.
Absolutely. And it seems like with less resources in the conflict defender's office, it's just going to make it that much harder for people to get justice, right? Or a fair trial. At least, right? So Kevin, was that your last point? Because I wanted to say something about Kevin. It's pretty symbolic that Kevin is here. I'm not going to say who said it, but someone very early on asked, why is he here? He's been there's been murmurs in the community about Kevin being a white supremacist, and he obviously, to how he's speaking now, is always how I've heard him speak. So I want you to kind of weigh in on that. What do you think? Because as a white you can be considered a white ally if you're fighting for, things that impact the Black and Latino community. How is it navigating those spaces for you, being a part of this forum, having conversations with people like Sabrina Lamar? What is that like for you, living in, I guess, two worlds?
I call the legislator office quite often. I try to talk to the Democratic side, the Republican side. I leave messages. I call individual legislators. We talk about this issue of justice for Maddie DeJure, and some of these other issues. So I fully support, I would be willing to support a lot more. I'm sorry, I'll respond to what you're saying. So there's something wrong. There's something wrong with the culture in society. And people, they act. What I try to be very aware of is just the lack of empathy towards others and selfishness in general. So, today literally marks 5 years since I made the Unmasking Antifa video, and a lot's been learned since then. I'm much more sensitive towards others now, I think.
Well, this is a forum for you, because Dr. King was about educating. You know what I mean? He was about civil disobedience in a way that, people like Kevin can learn from this experience, because so many of mainstream America is so isolated in pockets that aren't really truly interacting with the spaces that we talk about and the spaces that we grew up in. So I thank you for being here. I commend you for being here. And whoever, made that comment, if they want to ask you any question right now, or if anybody else wants to ask you this comment, as long as they're respectful, they're welcome to do so. I'm going to move on to Jamila. Thank you for being here, Kevin.
Thank you. I feel blessed.
Jamila, if you can unmute yourself.
Okay, give me just a second here. Thank you. So I just wanted to answer his question. He asked the question in the beginning when he talked about John Walker, I think the man's name is, and he said, why would he shoot him? He said, why would he shoot him? And the answer is he shot him because in his mind, he was an animal. However it took place, it was like free game. I guess you could say, like, how people go hunting. It wasn't, there was no empathy. There was nothing there. He saw him as a threat. And that's something that needs to be addressed in our communities. So that's my answer to that.
Thank you.
With Sabrina Lamar, you're welcome. With Sabrina Lamar, I wanted to know, since they will not be the public defender's office will not be providing services to people in the city of Rochester for misdemeanor crimes, who will represent them? Will they have to represent theirself?
I think you missed that, Jamila. She did explain that. She just explained that. But Sabrina, if you could reiterate, please, madam. You have to unmute, please.
It'll be the conflict defender's office. And that's and I was saying that's problematic because there's a lack of diversity in the conflict defender's office, and they don't have as many attorneys as the public defender's office does. Which means they'll be outsourcing, which means the county will be paying private people. Like that's what could potentially happen.
Okay, gotcha. I missed that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to give you some background on Jason Walker. The guy that shot him, he was an off-duty police officer. And get this, Jason Walker was active in his community. He was a mentor and he was a protester and things like that. So the officers know who the protesters are, right? At least they do here in Rochester. So I'm thinking they probably set that man up. Okay, I think it's a lot deeper than this, and I encourage you to research the story, because when I heard it, it blew my mind just a couple days ago. We're going to go to Howard and then anyone else who wants to weigh in. And then Shanique, I don't know how you feel, but I think at this time we should get into closing remarks. I don't want to fatigue people.
I want to ask a question.
Okay, Kevin, we'll give you an opportunity after Howard. So we'll get you Howard. We'll get Howard. Then Jamila, is your hand still raised?
Only because I just wanted to state while I'm here, as well as share when we're talking about Martin Luther King and his vision and the future. I just wanted to mention also that the children are our future. I am a part of the Rochester Parent Action Network. I created it in a need for parents and people to get involved in our children's future. So in the spirit of Martin Luther King, that is why I'm here, because we all have a dream and our children are the dream. Thank you.
Are you tired of mainstream media's distortion of the truth, cover-ups, and bias? We've allowed outsiders to tell the stories of the community for far too long. Now the Community Reporters puts the news back in the hands of the people. Our goal is to work directly with residents to tell a clear and honest story that mainstream media typically tries to hide. No more hidden agendas or business as usual. Join the Community Reporters today.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And then Howard, and then Kevin, and then just raise your hand if you'd like to be in the queue.
Yes, I wanted to tell Miss Lamar how proud of her I am. I like to think I poured into her a little bit, just a little bit. So keep working hard, which is what I used to write on your paper all the time. I don't know if you remember that.
You did. You did.
But yeah. So I have a question now. Listen. So we've raised one critical issue that you want us to come to the county legislature and make sure we defeat that issue, and we ought to do that now. See, that's concrete gold. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. But I'm a little concerned because I don't see a broader vision. For example, in my view, one of the most important things that has happened in this community in recent months is the RAISE report. The RAISE report deals with education, criminal justice, housing, healthcare, economic, 9 different areas, all the critical areas of life. But nothing's happening with it. It's just sitting there, as far as I can determine. We've been begging to get involved with the process. Nobody can tell us how to get involved. So I don't see that kind of broad-based vision that we're dealing not only with one area, but all the areas that are impacting our community. How do we move to that? I mean, we're speaking of vision, Dr. King and vision. Dr. King was not like this dreamer, abstract man sleeping. His vision was real. It wasn't in a dream. It was real, and it was in his work. It manifested in his work in the streets among the people. So I don't see that broad vision. I don't see it coming from anywhere. Just your thoughts on it.
No, so I totally agree. I tried to answer your question last week the best way that I could, because I noticed that nothing in the RAISE report is being implemented either. And so the people who are responsible for the implementation aren't being held accountable. They're not being exposed. They're not. We literally, 5 of us legislators literally in November had to say, hey, remember the RAISE report that came out in March? Where are the actions at? Where's the plan? Who's doing what? What's going on? They assume because they created this Office of Diversity and Inclusion or whatever it's called in the county, that boom, everything is supposed to magically, all the disparities are supposed to magically disappear. And it's not the case. Nothing on the RAISE report I haven't seen. So we had to literally put forth some legislation to say, do it. As a matter of fact, we not just do it, but by this date, we need to see a report saying that you've worked on these things, and we've yet to
Does anybody have the numbers on how much was spent just to do the research for that commission? Does anybody have
$200,000 initially, $100,000 from the county, $100,000 from the city. But then Bill Johnson told us publicly that they were going to use that funding to leverage more money. So we don't know what else was leveraged on top of the $200,000 investment. I don't. Maybe Sabrina does, but he said that publicly, that we're going to use that funding to leverage more resources.
Can we somehow, Madam President, can we somehow, and Howard, have a follow-up on that, on how we can, because I see people in the comments, they're talking about this as well, and this seems to be a pretty hot button issue. Is there a way we can make it, a priority to within the next month, within the next couple weeks, I'd like to see happen, us to come together and try to develop some strategies around that?
I'm going to put my email address in the chat and send me an email this week with your questions, and we can get started on that, and then maybe we can meet after we get some responses or no responses about what's going on with it, if that's okay.
Y'all talking my language in the spirit of Dr. King. Rich C. Johnson.
Yeah, I just wanted to start closing remarks. That was all right. And the only closing remark I have is just action. I seen Dr. Sharp put it in the chat before I could get acknowledged, but I think now moving forward is action. I think the discussions are good. Discussions are good, and just like Anthony and Howard said, protesting is a tactic or a piece of what we need to be doing. So I always like to promote action, which is following up, which is having conversations with Sabrina, having conversations with the mayor, having conversations with other legislators that represent the neighborhood that we live in. I think now is the time to really act on the conversations and act on our thoughts as a whole, whether it's coming together or talking to different organizations and discussing that certain things need to be our agenda moving forward. And so everybody is hitting the proper channels each separately, but because it's the same agenda, it is one punch. So that's my closing remark. With everything that was said, I appreciate the platform and discussing what was going on today under the remembrance of Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King, and I just wanted to leave that note of action to everybody.
Thank you, Rich. And I just also want to commend you for your work, your consistent work with your wife as well, and also wanting to get into these schools. So we also definitely want to follow up because it's still something that's needed. Just because it's a successful model at Franklin, we need to replicate that. And I thank you for being willing to do that. And I'm excited to finally have some time to meet with you and have this conversation. Thank you for being here. All of our other guests, can you please give closing remarks? Anthony, we'd like to get you to give closing remarks. Moses, we'd like you to give. Marcus, can you guys please kind of weigh in here so that we can have closing remarks?
Before we do that, could people put their email in the chat so we can have, I know we probably have most of your emails, but just to be moving forward, we have your emails in the chat. If people could add that too for us.
Yes, and Shanique, the other thing I wanted to add, just as a reminder, guys, we are still feeding the community day in and day out. If you go to our website, if you see us on the news, you know what we're doing, delivering COVID tests. Shanique, has been vital in helping us to get the word about, say, Rochester out. So I'm just going to put our Cash App, Venmo. If you're inclined to make a seed so that we can keep doing these things in the future, to plant a seed, we would greatly appreciate that, because we do rely heavily on the support from the community, whether it be $1, through Cash App, Venmo, or $100. Whatever you have in your heart, we would definitely appreciate that, because that's how we keep going. Can we have closing remarks? I see Anthony, Marcus, we want closing remarks from you guys. If anybody else wants to make a closing remark, not just the guests, as well, definitely you, Madam President Lamar, absolutely. And anybody else, please, guys, we want to encourage you to do that now. Madam President,
Yes,
if you just save you for towards the end.
Yes, please keep it to like 1 minute, because we have 22 people on the call. So we don't want to kind of eliminate anyone from having the opportunity to say their final thoughts.
Thank you. And Shanique, are you collecting email addresses from the chat?
Yes,
okay.
I will collect that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who would you like to go first?
I think we saw Peaceful Warriors hand, then we'll do Fred, and then Moses, and then we'll go from there.
Two quick comments. A general inquiry. What is bail reform when it works as intended?
Great question. That's a loaded question, because I think initially back in the before in the late 19th century, it was intended to act as a way to get people to, show up to their court dates. You know, I don't know. I don't.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to pose that question. No worries.
Gotcha,
No worries.
gotcha,
I don't
gotcha.
mean to pose any loaded questions.
Okay.
Now, then second comment real quick. If we can go back, if we can go back to June of 2020, I believe it was, how would we save Daniel Prude's life? If we could change the system, how do we go back, change the system to save Daniel Prude's life?
Awesome. And then I want, maybe people can respond in their closing statements to that question. If that's it, Kevin, thank you for being here. Thank you for posing those real questions to make us think, because you definitely made me think with that one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fred?
Thank you.
Fred?
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment. I've listened to everybody, and people start out by saying what they're involved in, and they started their own thing to get involved. But we're here talking, and I get to all these meetings, and we were all talking about working together. But whenever somebody wants to do something, you start another silo. Why is that? Instead of seeking out someone, in all the years that we've been Black in Rochester, there's somebody that has already been trying to work on whatever issue that you could come up in your mind. But we will go and start another silo instead of seeking out to work with those people. And we're all talking about creating a movement. How can we do that when there's 22 people here, and probably 18 of us all work in a different silo, instead of coming to a unity of where we're all working together on something? I don't have to agree with every single thing that everyone says to be a part of a movement that's moving forward. I'm sure everybody in the civil rights movement didn't agree on everything, but they came together to make that fight possible. But I just find it odd that everybody wants to create a silo for themselves instead of coming together as a unit and working towards a common goal.
The reason for that,
We're going to leave this meeting, and we're not maybe communicate 2 or 3 times, and then we'll fade away in the background. And that is what I guarantee you, that's what's going to happen. I doubt very seriously that going forward in the next month, you're going to see this many people if we do this again.
Okay, that's okay. But Fred, thank you for that, because I think that you have identified the elephant in the room. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for that contribution. And you know what? Let's look at the glasses half full, because I think that between Howard, the strategies that Howard has raised with the Race Commission, I think that Madam President Lamar bringing up this thing about public defenders, that's somewhere to start. Okay, so that's what I'm willing to do. And Fred, I think that you'll find the cream always rises to the top. You know, there's a difference between the wheats and the tares, and so we have to ask for discernment as well. Moses?
Yes, can you hear me, sir? Cool. I thank Fred for what he said. You know, I do appreciate it. Sometimes just actually having a hard conversation. I appreciate everyone's here who's listening to this, and may God plant a seed in your heart about how do we strategically move forward. I just want to say, in the words of Martin Luther King, you know, he said something really significant, and I think Fred will agree with this. Either we rise together as a family, as a community, as a people, or as a nation, or we shall perish as fools.
Beautiful, beautiful. Moses, thank you for being here, and thank you for seeing it through with the difficulties. People don't think you face challenges, but we know as a Black man doing the work that you're doing, you know, you face unique challenges, and we got to be there to support you as well. So thank you. Anybody else? Anthony want to weigh in? Anybody else with last remarks? We're going to give the honor of closing it out to Madam President Sabrina Lamar. I see Howard has his hand raised, and Carolyn. I'm sorry, I didn't see you guys. So we'll go Howard, Mr. Eagle, and then Carolyn, and then Marcus. Mr. Eagle, Carolyn, Marcus, and then anyone else after that. Please raise your hand so that we can start to close out this meeting. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Mikey. I'm trying to remember your last name. Don't get mad at me because I can't. I'm getting old, but thank you. So listen, I'm going to say the same thing over and over and over again because I believe it in my heart. And I am, what was it, a justice warrior or whatever, brother Dr. Sharp said. I'm that thing, whatever he named, 24 hours. I try to live that. But brothers and sisters, there's nothing, in my view, more important to our community than the need for us to build a coherent movement. This is not rhetoric. I'm talking about a critical mass of people who are working together constantly and consistently on agreed upon, identified, concrete, measurable goals. And no organization has to give up what it's doing. I talk about the octopus symbol, like all the different arms. That's what we would look like as a movement. That doesn't mean you have to give up what you're doing as an organization. It's just that whatever those agreed upon goals we decided on, we're going to continue to work on those together. So I hope Fred is wrong, but what he's describing is the history of this town, brothers and sisters, for decades. That's why you hear me calling it Slave Town, USA. But let's move from that. Let's really build this time. Let's make Fred out of a liar. That this time we're not going to meet 2 or 3 times and go away, but that we really are going to stay together. And you know, we talk a lot about what Dr. King said. I think we ought to study what he did. Thank y'all.
Powerful, powerful. I mean, we realize that we are sitting in the room with so much history of Rochester, you know, and Howard, Mr. Eagle, you are a testament to that, and the power of that. So now we'll go to Ms. Lewis, was you president of Noble?
Yes.
Okay.
So first, I would like to thank you. This was a very informative and very much needed conversation. And I just want to make a quick comment. The gentleman asked about what will be different with Daniel Prue, the incident with Daniel Prue. Someone that's in the law enforcement community, it actually broke, I'm sure it broke everyone's heart, but as a law enforcement person, it really broke my heart because between officers using the badge in the wrong way, as I could say, I always say that the badge is not me. I am a person. I wear the badge to protect and serve. The badge is not me, and I have to remember that. You know, people want to be treated the way they would like to be treated. So, with all of the problems, I know there was racism involved and everything, but humility has to be there and compassion. Because when I saw that video and those officers weren't even compassionate enough to give that man a blanket or a coat when he lay on that cold ground, that broke my heart. So I just want to say that as all people in law enforcement that wear the badge, we must be trained. We must be remember that you have to have compassion and humility to be out in the community that you're supposed to serve. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out today on this very cold winter day in Rochester. Marcus, you are next, and then Anthony Hall. Please, we want you to give your closing remarks, and then Shanique, if you want to give your closing remarks, and Marcus, Anthony, Madam President, Sabrina Lamar, and then Shanique, if you want to close us out. I think that would be the way to go. Yeah, Marcus.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, I think that something that's been chronically neglected over the last few years that's important for us to remember, that we as Black people are still citizens of the United States of America, as Martin Luther King said in the speech that you played at the beginning. And it's up to us to stand up as citizens of our nation and demand from our nation what all citizens should expect from it. However, lately there has been a separatist movement to try to separate Blacks from America, and people saying, oh, well, I'm not American, or, oh, I hate America. Well, you can't hate the nation of your birth, and if you do, you're welcome to leave. The fact of the matter is that there are many of us
Marcus, you
us
cut
here
out.
that are fighting for America. It's Henderson. Can you hear me? Hold on.
Okay. Marcus, you did cut out. You said a lot there because I am one of those people who Marcus is talking about sometimes. With
Hello?
critique
Can you
of
hear me now?
Yes, Marcus, you are there. Can we try to be brief?
I was almost done before it cut out.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah.
You may want to reiterate some things because I know that was broken up. If you could abbreviate it.
Yeah. So basically, there's been this separatist movement in our nation to try to make it as though blacks aren't members of our country because we're downtrodden or whatever the case is. First of all, that's a bunch of malarkey. Nobody's more entitled to this country and all the rights afforded by our Constitution and laws than black people. We have fought and died for this nation. We have worked in crafting this nation to make it as great as it is right now. And we all have to remember that. We can't be separatists. We have to work. If we're going to work to change the system, we have to realize that this system is part of the country, which we are a part of. So we should be proud in our patriotism for our nation, but still look at it and see that it needs to be changed. And if we need one thing as far as a cohesive thing for us to go against right now and to stand up against, it's going to be vaccine passports. I know nobody wants to talk about it, but those things are going to be pushed continuously, so they can track where we are, who's around us, where we go, how often we stay there. And the government should not have that much data on us. They've already got too much.
Okay, Marcus. Yeah. You are a patriot at heart. I believe you love America. There's no doubt about that. But I do want to reiterate that this conversation is, as Howard Eagle is talking about, is about the institutional structural racism that is inherent in the fabric of our nation, especially in the things like the national anthem and the Constitution of the United States. There's no way we can, consciously align ourselves with those types of principles. And we kind of do need to, I think it is time for a reinvention of what America is.
That's nonsense. That goes against what the speech that Martin Luther King said in the beginning that you played. He said that we are citizens. He said that we've been sold a false bill of sales, which is the problem. We're not getting what we deserve because we're not standing up in the manner in which we're supposed to.
Actually, I think it's a matter of interpretation of what we're discussing here. But that's for the next talk. Okay, we'll save that for the next talk. Madam President Sabrina Lamar and Anthony Hall, and we got to close it out, guys.
Once again, thank you for allowing us to be a part of this conversation. Definitely could do 5 hours of this. My closing remarks will be related to reforms, particularly bail reform and violence. What we have in our community and across the nation, because we have to understand that Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, Alabama, there has been an increase of gun violence in those particular cities and states as well, and there hasn't been any reforms. Bail reform, contrary to what's being spewed, is not why violence in our community has increased. The issue is disseminating resources. You cannot take a individual from incarceration and place them in a community with no resources. And I heard the Madam President of the police chapter, I forgot, Noble, speak about there's no resources. Well, unfortunately, there are resources. Community, which is parole and probation, for New York State, over $400 million is poured into their funds. A parolee is not given a corrective action plan or safety plan to re-enter society. But also, one of the problems in our community is conditions. The conditions in our community are poor, and they have been for over 100 years, particularly in Rochester, Monroe County. This effort to spew rhetoric around reforms, whether it's police reform, bail reform, less is more act as release of parole, is a narrative to gaslight law enforcement to be able to boost law enforcement. In closing, I would say this to many of you, and as Fred talked about, us aligning ourselves with each other more and being wholehearted, and corrupt and giving ourselves criticism that helps. In this effort to curb violence and to seek justice on every level, Howard's going to reiterate it. I'm going to reiterate it. Racism is the bedrock. I love America just like any other person. But however, a true patriot does not stand by and allow the ills and injustices of this community and country to keep going. You stand, Martin Luther King's presence and any of our ancestors before us and who are still alive that we stand on their shoulders, ask us to do one thing, and that's stand against what? Injustice. Stand against racism and bigotry. We have to be able to stand against it, know what it looks like, and build our own apparatuses to pull our people out. Generational wealth changes what takes place in our community. Like I said, I appreciate all of you. I haven't spoke to Sabrina, Madam President, publicly. I thank you for what you did as the caucus to gain and be the first African American woman, excuse me, in your role. And there is a lot of work to do in this community. And if we lock arms together and look forward, as we look back and learn from our past and look forward to build a future, we can do this. I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Anthony Hall. I hope I didn't offend you by calling you a Black Lives Matter leader. But, you are a leader in my eyes. And, that's just what I was referring to when a lot of people in the community do look up to you. And I know you believe in your heart that Black Lives Matter. And I know like Dr. John Sharp said that, you're a lover of justice. So that's what I was alluding to. So I wanted to clear the air on that. Sabrina, without further ado, Madam President Sabrina Lamar, I think you are last to give the closing remarks from our guests.
You listen?
I'm sorry. Oh, Nikki, I'm sorry. Nikki Justice, I'm sorry. I didn't realize who you were because it was coming up as iPhone. I'm sorry. So, Nikki, can you go ahead and weigh in, make it brief, please?
You're muted.
You're muted. You're still muted, Nikki. Nikki, you're muted. Okay, I don't know.
She's having an audio issue, not muted. She wasn't muted at first.
Right, I saw that.
Yeah.
And then I tried to remute her and then unmute her again. No, we can't hear you. I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear you.
She might have to sign out and sign back in order.
Can you sign out and sign back in really quick, and we'll try to get you in before the end, please? Okay, and then make sure your actual phone is not on. Okay, Shanique, Madam President Sabrina Lamar, go ahead and give your closing remarks because I'm not sure if Nikki will be able to join us.
Okay, and so I just want to thank you, Mr. Campbell, for being a great facilitator. Thank you, Nikki Justice, for letting me know that this meeting was going on, and thank you, Shanique, for sending me the link. I think Anthony's statement was a great segue into what I was thinking about saying, which is when standing on the necks of inequality and white supremacy, we just never know what form that comes in because it's been so dangerous to do so. And I'm speaking on or in regards to my position. I might be the sacrificial lamb here. I might be the one to take the bumps and the bruises it comes with the honor of being like the first. So, but for me, it's a battle worth fighting to ensure liberty and justice for all. And it's very important for me to, or for me, or for you, when you look at me, you see your mother, or you see your auntie, or you see your grandmother, and afford me with all of those protections that those Black women deserve, because in this position, they're coming for me. I've been in this position 2 weeks, and I've only had two Black officials reach out to me to say congratulations. And I'm not blaming anybody, but everybody is trying to figure this thing out, including me. I want to do some amazing things for our community. I don't want to just be the first Black person to do nothing. I want to be the first Black person to implement something, even if it's only one thing that can change while I'm in this position. I want to do that, but I can't do that by myself. So I implore you.
Has Malik's anyone from Malik's cabinet reached out, told you congratulations?
Only two Black people have reached out to me.
Okay.
And Mike Patterson and Lachey Harris, but
Okay.
we're all family.
Wow.
So I'm just saying that I don't blame them, but we're all trying to figure this out. But anyways, I'm saying all that to say that it's important for this group and people that I'm getting in front of to use me for what I can do, so I can show that this move was not about me, the person, but about this community, and be able, and I'm asking you guys, especially you fellas, to be able to protect me while I'm doing this work. I'm the only Black woman on the legislature. The only Black woman. I've been the only Black woman my whole term, and I'm ready to roll my sleeves up. I just need to know that y'all got my back.
We got you. We definitely got your back, Madam President Lamar.
Thank you.
I'm sure people took your email address. Please reach out to her, y'all.
I put my phone number in there too.
I love the accessibility as well.
Yep.
About of you as a leader, because not everyone is that accessible, and you are a person of the people. Nikki Justice, we're gonna try you one more time.
You said you knew.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right, so quickly, I'm just going to say I have more to say, but I know we don't have time. New York State Senate votes on and puts forth policy for our New York State criminal procedure law and the penal law. It seems like I'm not even going to put myself in it. It seems like a whole bunch of groups that are advocating for bail reform, violence in the city, whatever it is, they want to do it on a local level, but they don't want to go where the actual policy makers are working on the stuff that we have to abide by. And as far as I've been hearing on the news in person, or even in the chat, a lot of people think that law enforcement needs to be retrained out in the field. Now, undoubtedly, there are bad officers in any law enforcement agency, but the good officers outweigh those bad officers. And what I have to say about the training comments is that we are trained according to whatever the Senate is promoting us to do, or whatever our local law enforcement agency is promoting us to do. So don't automatically just assume that we're gaslighting. That was a comment that Mr. Hall made. I'll let you know that for sure. That's only your opinion. But I just had to say that, and I'm going to leave that at that. Oh, another thing too. The white gentleman that's on the call today, he asked you, Mikey, about bail reform. And I don't know if he is asking because he's ignorant of the fact, or he just wants to pick your brain. But the only thing that I have to say to him and everybody else on this call is Google it. Okay, get factual information. Don't just ask somebody else's opinion about bail reform. Get the actual information. We all have these our electronic devices in our hands pretty much daily. It's not hard to just type in bail reform in your search engine. And I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. I feel some type of way with him being on this call after I saw the information about what he stands for in the chat box. So I'm just letting him know that from me personally. I don't know if you're trying to be funny or you're trying to be informed, but Yeah, that's it, Mike.
Thank you for that, Nikki. And I love your passion for truth, for right. I love your standing on what you believe in. I love that. I think that, Kevin may have been trying to pick my brain, but I think that it's important that we demonstrate. I know a couple people had a problem with Kevin being on the call, and I just got to say that it's the spirit of Dr. King, and however people try to pick my brain, I think I welcome it, and I included a YouTube video in the chat box on Bell Reform in case you guys wanted to check that out. Lastly, before Shanique closes us out, I'd like to read a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King, a very short quote. It says, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." Again, let me run that back. Rewind. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. So I want to leave that with you, and it's open to interpretation. But thank you all for being here on behalf of Save Rochester, on behalf of Tocsin Magazine, on behalf of all of those who want to keep Martin Luther King's spirit and dream alive. We thank you for being here today. And without further ado, Shanique Byrne.
So yes, again, I do want to thank all of you for joining Tocsin Magazine. Many of you know we work hard in the community. We work with several nonprofit organizations. So the way you can help us is by getting information about these organizations out to the public. So I have your emails. If anyone wants to, I'm working with Swan. They are actually giving away free bus passes to people who are on the west side of Rochester. So that is something we'll need your help with, getting it to people who need free bus passes. We're also working with another organization who helps people who are currently being evicted. They may need legal representation. So we are working hard to work for the people who actually need our assistance. And the only way we can do this is to work together. So hopefully you all will assist me in getting this information out to the community. And again, I just want to thank all of you, Madam Sabrina Lamar, President, Madam Sabrina Lamar. You know how I feel about you. I'm so excited to see you in your new position. We have talked about it. Congratulations. And again, thank you all for joining us.
Congratulations. Thank you.